Welcome to Getting Ghosted. This is an Intuitive Soul Collective podcast, and I'm your host, Allie Horner. Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited for today's episode because we are going to do some really fun sharing and story time. This comes from my recent TikTok series, which was all about asking my guides about what life is like on the other side, how things work when we die, how does death happen, do we plan exits, and all of that fun stuff. And we did a lot of talking about just Spirit's perspective on reincarnation and past lives and current lives and life themes and blueprints and all of these types of things. So during this, a lot of people started sharing their signs and stories of connection with the other side. And so today will be a really fun listener story episode. Just keep in mind that you can always submit yours using the link in the show notes or using the link in my bio from Instagram or TikTok. I'm also at intuitivesoulcollective.com. I will link that up as well. And you guys can always submit your stories and questions there if you don't want them to get lost in my TikTok comments or in my inboxes. So in one of my videos, I was talking about ways that the other side communicates with us that we might not realize. And there was one gal named Eleanor who commented and said, I got really hungry watching this. Got up to make myself a bedtime snack. By the end of the video, I realized that might have been a nudge from my late husband. We always loved a late night snack together. And I said, yes, those are the exact types of signs and nudges from the other side that I was speaking of. And so it looks like, the sense I got and the message I got right away was that because I was on here and I was talking to the other side and bringing through that energy, people who are connecting with that video will also become more and more aware of their own nudges and their own signs. And so when Eleanor got really, really hungry, that is an example a little bit of when Spirit is using our intuition, so our claircognizance, a knowing, a pull, a sense of being compelled, I just have to get up and go do this right now, and a little bit of her psychic taste. And so when we are tapped in with our psychic taste to the other side, we will get an urge, either a taste literally in our mouth, which can happen, or we might get an urge or a craving for something. And it can be very deeply connected to a loved one on the other side. And in this case, it sounds like it was connected to her late husband in terms of the bedtime snack, because that was something that they used to love to do together. And so those are little ways that your loved ones will stay connected to you very deeply, is by giving you little nudges and pulls to go and get a certain snack because it's something you guys used to love to do together, or to eat something that was like a ritual or an important meal for you both, something you used to love to make or grab together. It might even be something that's more connected to them. So at one point, I was doing a reading for one of my old friends, and her grandfather had been coming through. It was the only time I'd ever channeled her grandfather for her. She just was curious and wanted to talk to him. And at the end of it, she and I said goodbye, and there had been a lot of details and little things coming through, and she was like, that's definitely him, and thank you so much. And I was like, okay, I have to get rolling. So as I was going about my day, I had this craving, and I had to go to this diner near my house. Like, everything in me needed to go to this diner and have plain white toast with butter and a cup of black coffee. Totally not my normal meal. That is one of those meals where I'm like, nope, I usually love some good caramel and cream in an Americano, or in a really nice Americano with a little hint of hazelnut or something like that, and some cream. I am a half and half girly through and through. And I just don't drink black coffee. So, and I have plain toast. I'm just not going to go out of my way for it, but I had to go have it. So I get to this diner and I sit down and I'm like, this is going to sound really weird, but could I just order this? Had one bite of the toast and one sip of the coffee, and the feeling left. And I just heard her grandfather on the other side going, sniffing it, and the smell and the texture. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, oh man, he totally used my psychic senses, because I was already connected to him to get that one. It was almost like he was just borrowing my taste buds and my nose, my sense of smell for a split second to relive one of his favorite memories. And I messaged her and I said, hey, by any chance, did your grandfather really love going to a diner and having a nice piece of toast with some really good butter and black coffee? And she goes, that's him. So anyhow, yeah, that can totally happen. And thank you, Eleanor, for sharing your story about your husband. Our next one is from Eve. Eve commented and said, "Ever since my boyfriend passed away, I keep encountering flickering lights at work, on the street, at home. My makeup vanity once turned on by itself, and it was 2 to 3 a.m., and I just could not fall asleep because I was so sad looking at our pictures. I was thinking to myself that he was really gone, and boom, the vanity lights turned on. I believe it was him saying hi." And I have to say, I agree. I think that was him as well. I think one of the lesser known ways that spirit can work with the human world is through electricity. Now, not all of them do this all the time or can pull their energy into the physical enough to do this, but essentially we're all just energy. And I believe we're even, more, and I believe we probably don't have language for it or vocabulary for our form and formlessness and the nature of that existence beyond the 3D world. So energy is the best thing that we could possibly call it right now. But because electricity is energy, and because some of our devices use energy, our guides can work with that. Our loved ones can work with that. They love to use things like flickering lights, TVs that turn on, channels that change out of nowhere, popping a song on the radio right when you need it. They did say it's getting harder because of the algorithms getting more and more pinpointed. So it's harder for them to work to sift things within the algorithms. And I always say, if you find something online and it just resonates with you, then it's for you. Don't worry too much about who's sending what and where it's coming from. If it resonates, it resonates. We don't need to overthink it too much, but they can work with things like lights. And so I love that happened for Eve with her boyfriend. And I did get a hi babe, hi babe, right as soon as I was reading that part about the vanity lights, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's just such a sweet sign. Almost like he's like her light in the dark, trying to show her just like, hey, I'm still around. I'm not really gone. And almost like, don't, he understands, like they always understand when we're sad. They understand grief. I think grief is one of the things we actually fear the most on earth, is having to experience grief. And so it looks like he was trying to give her a little extra nudge, a sign or a signal of, hey, like even in your times of grief, I'm still here and I'm still with you. So I love that story from Eve. Thank you, Eve, for sharing that. Our next one was submitted by Kat, and it says, "Can spirits touch you?" And it says, "My mom passed when I was 24 and I'm 36 now, but on the day she passed, when I was getting ready to go to sleep, I was almost asleep when I felt someone touch my back. I thought it was my roommate coming to check on me, and when I turned around, she was not there or even home. I instantly knew it was my mom, but I guess it is hard to know for sure. I do believe I get many signs." So I love this type of thing. Spirit can absolutely touch you guys. They just don't do it very often if they think it's going to freak you out, because they never want to scare you. They never intend to do that. They understand that sometimes they might reach out and it just accidentally scares someone, but they really hope that it doesn't. They're really just trying to show you that they're there, that they with you, and that they are with you, and that they love you. And yes, so something I actually see in readings is, when I see spirit showing up for people, especially when they're trying to show that they're there to guide, comfort someone, or support them, they will show you sitting down and them standing behind you and putting a hand on your shoulder or on your back. They might also show sometimes that they are reaching out and doing something that they used to do when they were alive. So a very specific touch or gesture, a specific way that they hugged you or held your face, or if they were the type of person who always reached out and grabbed both of your hands, if they were the type that gave that really, really big squishy bear hug, or sometimes if they were the type that might have been a little bit more standoffish, so you noticed it when they actually did touch your shoulder or your back or give you a hug. I will actually get the feeling of them doing that. Sometimes you guys might not just feel a pressure or a physical touch in that space. You might actually feel a tingle or a chill or a little touch of cold or even a squeeze of warmth. One of my other favorite things that they can do is that they can give you heart squeezes. My friends and I used to talk about this all the time way back in the day, years and years ago, because when I was first going through the early stages of my awakening, just after my now 11-year-old kiddo was born, I used to get these big heart squeezes, and it felt like a big bubbly radiation of love from my heart space. And I knew that it was my angels and guides and loved ones coming in and kind of like activating my heart a little bit more. Now, one of my personal stories from being experiencing spirit touch is actually, or like I guess you could say extreme clairsentience, is actually when I was on a trip to California. It was quite a ways back, and I was staying in this little apartment that I had rented by myself just for like 5 days and having a little bit of me time and my own spiritual experience while I was there. And one night I woke up and it was just beginning to very barely get light out. And I woke up to someone tapping the bottom of my foot really hard where my foot was actually jiggling. And I sat up in bed and I could see someone, but I couldn't see their full body. It was like they were just kind of coming in a haze. Now, it wasn't scary to me. I knew right away, like I was enveloped in peace and in love. And I knew someone was trying to say, I'm here, I'm not gone, but they were saying goodbye at the same time. And I just knew right away that this is a male presence and it's someone who really loves and cares for me and for all of us. And I found out just an hour or two later, I got a message on my phone that from a family friend that her grandfather had passed. And her grandfather was my still living grandfather's absolute best friend. They had been best friends since they were really young. And I went, oh my gosh, it was him. That's who came in. No wonder I felt so comfortable and so at peace when this happened, because a lot of people would think that you'd be freaked out, but I actually wasn't freaked out at all. I recognized immediately that I recognized this person, and I knew because I had been a medium for quite some time, like my whole life, suppressed or unsuppressed. Like I just knew this energy feels comfortable and friendly. So yes, sometimes they will do things like that. And I've definitely heard a lot of different stories about spirit touch and spirit using physical touch to communicate with people. There are some who even, they will like kind of like tug on and play with people's hair here and there. Sometimes it's to get your attention for an important reason. Sometimes it's just to show presence and that they are with you. Now, this next one is super fun, and it's about how spirit can kind of work with us on this plane. So this gal who calls herself Pamski on TikTok said, my parents and I were reading old letters from the 1950s to 1980s. I had just been talking to my mom about how my aunt's house smelled so good. It smelled like cookies or cake, and I was wondering about why it did, and I have always wondered about that. And then that night, I read a letter to my parents from that aunt, now passed away, from the 80s. And in this letter, she specifically mentioned me by name and how I always thought her house smelled so good. And she had been trying to figure it out too. And she said she figured out that it was because she put Yardley soap in her dresser drawers. It was like she literally answered my question I was just asking in the future in 2025 back in the 1980s, and mentioned my name specifically. I was a young child when I first asked her about that when we visited her once. And she said, what in the world? So that is so cool, because the sense I got from this is that your aunt guided you to find that letter that she had written way back then now. And yes, it's like her past self was writing the letter knowing maybe consciously or unconsciously that your future self would be meant to find it, to have an answer to your question as well. So I just think that is so cool. And it almost reminds me that there's like really nothing is coincidence when it comes to spirit. Also, it's just a good reminder that spirit can always guide us to the right place at the right time, even for little things like that. And there's always a purpose behind what they're doing, whether we recognize it in the moment or not. But if we just pay attention to our subtle intuitions and our little nudges, our little pings and our little pulls without overthinking it or questioning what it means and where we're going and why, then we can start to find more of these little hidden clues and receive the guidance that we need to go where we need to go and do what we need to do and say what we need to say and to whom, all at the right time and in the right place. They're always trying to help us and guide us and show us signs of their connection and love. And I love when they do things like this. Sometimes also they'll just do things that just make us laugh. And that's one of my favorite parts of working with them. This next gal, Sarah, says, I definitely believe I've been guided to the places and people I've met through life. My career side is down. I've traveled all over the country and made a big network, each time finding the next stepping stone through that network. Apparently, though my guides think being single for this lifetime is also my path. And she did, but also, like she did like a sad face. So this is an important reminder too. Again, your guides and your loved ones are always trying to bring you to the right people and places at the right time. And it's important that you're remembering this on earth, because sometimes we can be really fixated or focused on having one type of relationship and wondering where that is and why it won't come. And we have to remember that your guides and loved ones are trying to connect you likely with so many different people and places and things and many, many forms of love. And just because our culture and our society prioritizes romantic love, that does not mean that that's what our souls actually want us to do. So a lot of us are actually here in this lifetime to break free from that cultural conditioning, and start to learn that love comes through us and to us at all times, if only we will allow it. And it can come through us and to us in the smallest moments, in so many ways, and for so many people. And my other sense is for Sarah and for many people, that you are being guided to go and meet all these people and have this big network, because you are here as a conduit of love. We are all here to bring more love to this life cycle, to the Earth's physical plane. And so in order to do that, your guides and your soul has you meeting a lot of people and expanding this network. And who's to say that you might not meet someone really great from this network in the future anyways? But wouldn't you be so glad that you met this whole network too, and that you didn't have set your life aside or stop yourself from meeting amazing people and having amazing conversations and spreading more love and connecting more people and, having great nights laughing, deep in, until the sun comes up, and going out dancing and sharing ideas and sharing recipes and creating stories and memories together. Just because you had haven't found, one particular relationship doesn't mean these other experiences weren't important. And who knows, maybe they'll bring you to an amazing partner too. Maybe this is part of how you meet them. So again, it's just such a great way for Spirit to work with us. They love to work with us through other people. And they're always trying to guide us and help us to live out our larger blueprint and our larger themes, and to find our soul groups and soul families here on earth, because we're all going to help each other, and we're all here for each other. And our key thing is just to be open, pull back our judgments, and follow those intuitions and nudges and pulls and inklings that Spirit gives us, whether we recognize it as Spirit or call it Spirit or not. Now, this next one is great because it kind of builds on this concept more. Toria said, my husband and I met at a bar through a stranger. She randomly came up to me and told me I should go dance with this guy, the guy being my husband. Both of us were too shy to even say hi to one another. Well, a few years later, we are now married. Definitely divine intervention. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, had you not gone to that bar, who knows what could have happened? I mean, I really believe when two souls have some agreement or a really close vibrational pull to each other, they're going to keep circling around to each other, which we'll totally cover in other podcasts. Don't worry. Just too much for one today. But it's very clear that clearly there were people who recognized that there was something really special, a connection between you guys before you could even see it or feel it. They could feel it there. And so it's almost like the universe tapped these people on the shoulder and said, hey, psst, 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 get them to go, get her to go dance with him. Go give her a little nudge, give her a little pull. And of course, now they're married. This next one is from KR on TikTok. They commented, sometimes my son's voice pops in my head and I always wonder if it's actually him. It's not like me having a conversation with him, more like sometimes he'll randomly comment on something that I'm doing. When he was here and my husband would game and talk out loud to whoever he's playing with, my son and I would respond, but as a joke because he couldn't hear us. One time my son's voice popped in my head and it was so random. Then I heard my husband on his game and realized he was fake responding to his dad's game like we used to. I wasn't even thinking about us doing that in that moment. So I like to think his little voice in my head is actually him. He was only 13 when he passed this summer. So I'm so sorry about your kiddo passing. And I did get the really strong sense to tell you that is definitely him. It's not like just you having a memory or, like I used to love when we do that. It's actually him doing it. He is actually still commenting. And I know because one, I'm getting that really strong sense to tell you and confirm for you that yes, that is him. And number two, I have to say, my guides and my loved ones do it all the time. I hear about it all the time. So when you have connection to the other side or have a loved one on the other side, they like to show you that they're still there. One, by doing things that they used to do and used to love to do when they were just hanging out with you and living, normal life with you at home. And number two, a lot of them like to comment on things that you're doing. Once I was about to leave the house and I was really rushing to go grab my son from school, and I had taken a quick shower. I had just gone for a run, and I had been really busy that day, and I was running out the door. And when my guide said, "You gonna put deodorant on those pits?" And I was like, oh my God, fine. Like, because I'm like rushing. And so I will even get comments from them like, drink more water, like out of nowhere, or water. So they love to come in and they love to comment on things. This commenting that your son did was very much connected though to a favorite pastime of you two, something that would be unique to you guys and unique for your husband as well. And it's his way of showing that he is still very much there, very present, and that he knows exactly what you guys are up to in everyday life, that he's not gone, he hasn't gone away, and he's definitely still there participating, just in a new form. This next one is from JRU25, and she said, how come you get some more specific signs from one loved one and not the other? My dad and sister passed a day apart, and I see signs from my sister so much, but not from my dad. And so I just wanted to cover this as well. And we've talked about this a bit more in classes and on my TikToks, but I know not everyone sees all of them, or, like sometimes you find a later TikTok and haven't, or earlier podcast episode, but you haven't listened to ones that were made a while ago covering it. But for certain beings on the other side, they work very differently. Some of them try really hard to leave signs that maybe you agreed upon, or signs that would mean something for you. And so I'd say one of the things I say with signs is, they have to be like a billboard. Like, ask spirit to make them that big, make them that obvious. Now, the other thing is, certain people on the other side, they don't work as much with the same types of signs that you might be looking for. They might be working with other types of presence with your physical senses. And they may be giving you, say, like nudges to go to a bookstore and find a certain book over and over. That might help you on your path, but you may just not realize that it was them. Some of them connect in very different ways than what we think would be spirit connection. So we kind of like disregard it, or we just don't realize it. And so I wanted to mention that as well, that sometimes from your dad, he likely is contacting you. It's just not always in the ways that you would expect. So perhaps your sister is really good at sending really specific types of signs, but your dad can't work with energy the same way, or doesn't work with energy the same way. Perhaps his communication and connection with you is just coming in a different form, and something that you might not understand or expect it just yet. For those of you guys who are wanting to learn more about that, highly recommend picking up some books on mediumship, or even just mediums sharing their stories. Also, I know it's super cheesy, but there are some chicken soup for the soul books that are all about angels and all about messages and signs from the other side. And I know none of them are teaching as in step by step how to connect, but one of the best ways that you can learn how to connect is by hearing how other people connect, like how their loved ones connect or communicate with them. Because sometimes that can kind of give you a light bulb moment of like, wait a minute, that's totally happened to me. Like, wait, I didn't know that was, so sometimes we just have to hear someone else's experience and then realize that, oh man, that has actually been happening to me. I just didn't know that that's what that was. It's kind of like seeing, the sky being blue, but not having the word blue to describe it and not realizing it. So it's kind of like that. Like finally, you'll have the language to put around some of the experiences that you're having. But just keep in mind that just because one of your loved ones is not sending the signs that you want them to be sending, or just because they're not communicating the way that you think they should be communicating, doesn't mean they're not there, and it doesn't mean that they don't love you. They love you very much, and they're always trying to show you signs of their love and presence, and it just may be in a different way than you're used to. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this little listener episode. If you want to share your stories and your experiences connecting with the other side. If you want to share signs and synchronicities that you've had, if you have questions about working with the other side, questions about your intuition, questions about angels or ETs or guides or the universe or life and soul blueprints and reincarnation and anything under the sun, feel free to reach out. Just use the link in my bio to submit your question or story, or you can use the link in the show notes to do that as well. Or you can send me an email. I'm spiritspeaker2022@gmail.com. And you'll be able to share yours anonymously if you wish. Just let me know in your message. And feel free to reach out, because I love, love, love gathering these up for listener episodes. And I will also be creating my Snail Mail Club and little ebooks and all of that fun stuff for you guys. As I mentioned before, I'm trying to create more things that will stand the test of time, rather than, I feel like a lot of things that are, online content can kind of just get lost in the information verse. And so something I've been really feeling, and that my guides and my teachers have been really trying to nudge me toward, is really writing and creating some more tangible products, helping people to kind of get offline a little bit more. So I hope that what I'll be putting together in the future will be helpful. And right now I'm just gathering submissions for stories for those and questions for those. And so feel free to share your experiences. You can share several if you've had a whole bunch of them. You can ask a whole bunch of questions, and I may use them for future episodes. Again, if you want to remain anonymous, totally fine. Just let me know. And again, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast.